morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I love seeing all your faces. So today I'm trying something a little different. Sharon always says, speak from spirit. So that rather than having a million notes, this is what I'm going to try to do. And it was funny because about a week ago when Sharon asked me if I would give the talk and she was going to be away, I asked Spirit, give me some ideas. And I literally was in bed almost all night hearing this voices about this, and you can say this, and you can say that. And I went, I forgot to say, which I've learned in mediumship, you can turn this off. You can ask them to stop. So I chuckled at myself and I wrote a few small notes, but so we'll see how this goes. And thank you for allowing me to share time with Spirit and with you, with some of the thoughts that I hope to share with you from Spirit. I guess what I always say too is, we all come from our frame of reference. And right now, a big part of my life, which some of you know, I've been working in quantum healing hypnosis. And it's as much as I'm a scientist on one side, which is very left brain, very, facts and figures and working with data in the area of oncology, I also have this very big need and call on my other side of myself, which I call my right brain, which is the side that is connected to spirit, that gives me true meaning to life for me, and gives me that self-awareness and looking within. So I've been doing this quantum healing hypnosis technique, and a lot of it is about past life regression, helping people go through past lives or other dimensions, because I really come to believe, and this is more of my thought, so I won't say it's the spiritualist church, but my thought is that I really do believe we have many, many past lives, many, many existences. And when we come to this earth, we forget, this is part of the journey here, we forget that we've had all of these lives and these experiences, and we are here living the moment for the lesson, for the journey. And so I really love this part of the quantum healing hypnosis, because once you go through your past lives, I bring you back under trance to your higher self, to the you that is truly you, and that thin veil that we walk around in this life with, forgetting who we truly are and the magnificence of us and the magnificence of our spirit. The trance helps to lift away that veil, and you can now be connected closer to God and your higher self. And Dolores Cannon, who developed this technique over 50 years, changed the face of hypnotherapy to really allow people to go within. And it's a matter of letting go and trusting yourself. And I always think this really fits well with mediumship, because when I've taken the classes of mediumship with Sharon and Bill and Richard, and just such a gift, about a quarter of the class, or a portion of it, is really training us to trust ourselves, to trust that spirit is there, to trust, to connect. So in between all the teaching, they're still encouraging us to say, you can do this, you can do this. And I think that's something about your higher self and connecting to that you can do this. And there's so many times that we feel alone in this journey, and especially when we're going through difficult times, we just sort of, and I know myself, I even kind of close in on myself, trying to find the energy to work with myself and then look within to call on spirit to help me. But one of the other resources that I've come to learn is that you do have a higher self. And to sort of define what that is, Dolores Cannon called it the subconscious, because back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, she didn't have another term for it. It's not the subconscious that many of us are aware of in psychiatric or psychological terms. It was just more of your higher self, your oversoul, the you that is truly, truly you, that knows all your past lives, all your existences, and that is born from source. And that it's such a wise resource within ourselves, if we tap into it, that it gives you an amazing amount of advice. And who but better to give you advice but you? And when I am privileged to have clients and their higher self comes through, I am astounded and amazed every time I hear the wisdom coming from them. And it is their higher self. It's loving, it's honest, sometimes it's brutally honest. So there's nothing getting past you. I remember that reading about a survey that said that 14 times a week, when someone asks us, how are you? 14 times a week, we say, I'm fine, I'm fine. And what they really found out that we put on a brave face, and sometimes it's braver to admit that something's wrong, but less than one time a week do we really mean that we're really truly fine. So it's very interesting how we kind of push all of this aside. And I thought, you know what, when you tap into this higher self, which is truly you, and you know yourself, and you find that it is kind, it is loving, it's not the part that is harsh with you. It's this still small voice that you can tap into. And I also believe that we've been given the gift of feelings. Sometimes it may feel like a curse, but feelings and emotions are something that we have been given as a gift in our human existence. And we need to tap into that and really feel what is in our gut, what is coming from us truly within inside when we're being honest with ourselves. And I know way back in my youth that when I really tapped into this self, I would get the answers in a quiet voice that was often my own, that I thought was my own, and it is my own. But it gave me advice. It gave me the strength and the fortitude to go on. When I was very young, and I was about 19 or 20, and an example of this, I was bouncing all over the place with my career. I drove my parents nuts. And I was in theater. I was in the arts. I worked on Wall Street. I worked for SAG in the acting union. I was all over the place trying to figure it out. I became a health food store manager. And ultimately, though, when I was in theater, one day I was at a party, and some of you have told this story before, but it was really empowering at that point. I was at a beautiful party, very young, and I was meeting all these people, and I was still unhappy. I was doing well. I was getting gigs in Broadway and off Broadway. I was making money, and yet there was still something that felt like a void within me. And as I hear Leslie saying the introduction today, I heard a voice in my head say, you don't need people to know your name or your face in order to be a success, Kim. You don't need it. And I remember saying, what? And I literally turned and thought someone was in the room with me, and it said it again. And then I realized it was coming from within me. And I realized at that point, I had been on a spiritual journey since the age of at least 12. And at that point, I knew Spirit was talking to me. And it guided me to the next part of my career in medicine, in nursing, and on it went. But I learned also that that still small voice can come in many ways. And how do you tap into it? Yes, you can meditate. And the Buddhist monks can put themselves on mountains for 20 years or for hours in a room. And some of us are very good at meditating. I am not. I wish I was better at it. But I'm good at 5 or 10 minutes, and then my brain starts wandering. But I've also learned it comes through prayer, tapping into that higher self through prayer. And even a better way that works for me is a way in which I will be driving in a car or walking on a trail when I take my walks during the week. And I start asking Spirit, I ask Spirit, what can I do to be an example in this life for other people? What can I do to give back? And whenever I ask those questions, I expect an answer. And some of that came not only through quantum healing hypnosis and learning from the clients that I had that the higher self is right there ready to give you answers. And you don't always have to go through hypnosis to get those answers. You can get them when you expect spirit to come back to you and to come and talk to you. And when I go for a walk down this path, and I might do 5 miles in a given day, and I'm loving the beauty, I will start saying, okay, now I'm here, I'm open, talk to me. And sometimes I get back, well, what do you want to hear? What do you want to know? And I say, gosh, you are here. Okay, well, and then I start with my questions. And I expect an answer, and I get it. And I think that's the one thing, too, that Sharon and Bill and Richard taught me so well also through mediumship. When we were taking classes, they said, expect an answer. Spirit wants to talk to you. You are never alone. Spirit is always there. Just tap into it. And I realize sometimes that my monkey brain starts going and I can be talking to spirit, and the next it's like squirrel. I start going into something else, and then I have to pull myself back, and it's me who controls when I listen to spirit, when I talk to spirit, but they're just always waiting there to talk to my higher self and for my higher self to connect back to me. So I just encourage you, when you're feeling lonely and when you're feeling challenged by life, because it does challenge us, it's not easy. And these last 2 years have been a journey and a half for many of us. Some of us have faced some of our greatest challenges in the last 2 years, and even more so, whether it's with family members or friends. And sometimes we really do feel alone. But we have so much within us. We have Source within us, we have God, we have Spirit, and we have ourselves, that highest you that has so much wisdom, that is there to give you answers, to guide you, and to be with you, and to tap into Source. So I'm going to finish up today. I found this weekend, I'm actually, if you look at my background, I'm at my daughter's apartment in New York, and I was out with cousins this week, and one of my cousins gave me this beautiful book that I want to share a small reading with you, and it's called The Wisdom of Sam. And it was written by Daniel Gottlieb. He's a PhD. He's on NPR radio, or he was on NPR radio for many years. And he had a grandchild who was autistic. And so his beautiful books are short stories about Sam. And this one, The Wisdom of Sam, was just such a lovely short little vignette that I wanted to share with you. And it's a great book, by the way. I've just been getting into it and just picking out stories in it. But it's observations from a life of an uncommon child who has autism, and what Daniel Gottlieb has learned from his grandson and all the wisdom that comes from this young boy. So he said, as I write, 3 years have passed since Sam asked his mother about those black and white photos in my dining room. I'm a little sad because Sam is growing so fast, but I'm also excited because he's just at the age where I can begin to ask him questions. As for Sam, his curiosity seems to grow stronger every day. Behind so many of his questions, I hear the kind of things that I too have always wondered about. His eyes are opening wider, and every day in some ways, I can see him beginning to touch one bigger question and one bigger idea after the other. Like, who am I? How am I different from my parents? And if I'm different, does that mean I'm alone? When he's ready, the last question is the one I can answer. Yes, my sweet grandson, ultimately you are alone, in this sense that no one else can really understand what it's like to be Sam. But I know Sam pretty well, and I know a bit about how humans. So I can imagine Sam's final question and what it will be. Well, we can be different. Can we still be together? Yes, Sam. Once we understand that we are alone, and once we stop trying to change it, then we can all be alone together. Then we will have lots of hands to hold the next time we face life's revolving doors. So thank you all for letting me hold your hands today. Thank you for letting me share and letting Spirit hopefully come through me to share a little wisdom that is much more than I have in myself. You are all such a gift, and I thank you and have a wonderful week.